I swear, these days it feels like everything is slop. Especially if you spend a lot of time online, like me, you'll see the word thrown at everything ever. Somehow I've seen slop become slop. It's like the word has been overused so much that it's slop has been slopified in some weird ass way. Like, how does that even happen? I didn't even know there could be an iceberg of slop. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Since, despite the fact about 99% of people know what slop means, assuming you're chronically online, like me, if you've been living under a rock or just aren't online, then you probably don't know what slop means. Honestly, if you really don't know what it means, good for you. You should just probably keep it that way. But if you don't care, then what essentially slop means is something of very low to mid quality, you know? Something that is like garbage, I guess. Not garbage, but basically almost garbage. It's essentially just what you would feed to a pig, you know, slop, which makes sense, right? The other issue is how common you come across it. There tends to be a lot of slop when you talk about it, or you can just use it to describe something of low quality, or something overdone or oversaturated. Now, if slop was used properly, as in really only used to describe like low quality products, YouTube videos or games, you know, anything of just low quality that's like pumped out constantly, then who would care? The problem is, everything is somehow slop. People have been coming up with new terms for slop, which is insane. Since I've seen some dumb stuff online relating to the word, for example, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Lethal Company, right? I mean, it's a pretty good game. I personally don't like it. I don't like these games in general, but I do understand why other people like it. But then Content Warning came out, and you know, it's similar in concept. It has a lot of differences going for it, which is fine. It's also a fine game from what I've seen. Then Repo came out, which is also a fine game, um, but it also has some differences that makes it different from the other two. So, what's the deal? These are three similar games. Yeah, but you know, even though they have the same gameplay loop and they're similar games, apparently the problem, according to people online, is that somehow these games are considered friend slop, which is like, what? Literally, what is friend slop? What the hell is that? Any game that requires a friend and has a similar gameplay loop to Lethal Company? Like, I didn't even know it could get that bad. So here's the, uh, well, know your meme page on it. I didn't even know these guys knew what friend slop was. I genuinely thought I was gonna have to scour through Twitter for this tweet, but nope. Friend slop is a real term apparently over on Know Your Meme. Anyways, it says here that friend slop is a humorous and derogatory slang term describing video games primarily meant to be played together with friends, and more narrowly, indie cooperative horror games such as Lethal Company and Repo. Among others, coined in March 2025, alongside the complementary term friend farming, the term was initially mocked but later achieved recognition on social media. So, what? Like, that's kind of weird. Anyways, so what? That's like one instance of the word being overused, and who really cares? If friend slop and friend farming was it, then this would be like a 5-minute video. But I would agree with you normally, but the thing is how everyone considers everything slop these days, and I'm sure you've seen it, because people would rather use the word as an insult or a way to describe things they personally do not like, instead of saying they just don't like something and they dislike it, instead of using it properly. And I know trying to police how people use a word online is like legitimately the dumbest idea ever. It's like somehow trying to talk to a wall and expecting to get a reply. But yeah, it usually is. But with how oversaturated and misused the damn word is, it's really annoying, and it genuinely feels like you just can't say shit about your favorite game because someone's gonna call it slop. One more example before ending the video. A lot of people will call games they personally don't like slop, right? And honestly, if they didn't publicly announce they find a game to be slop and hate it, then I wouldn't even care either. But you know how people are online, everyone has to know your opinion, and while that is fine, sometimes it's okay to just, it's not our turn to speak. But one thing that really bugs me, I guess a pet peeve of mine essentially, is how people call certain Roblox games slop just because they don't like them. And honestly, yeah, a lot of them are. I mean, look at the front page here. Like, there's just slop everywhere. Like, what are these games? And half of this aren't even games. You just press a button every now and then in AFK. It might as well just be called an AFK simulator. It's not even a game. But the actual annoying part is calling actual playable, or at least decent, you know, just actual playable games slop. It just seems disingenuous and like annoying behavior. Like calling good games slop is like a slop reply. Somehow your own reply is slop because everyone says it. Just so you dislike it at that point. At least that's something I can understand and get behind. The games I seized with the most, at least in recent times, are, of course, Item Asylum and Forsaken. Starting with Forsaken, since it's the bigger of the two, the game itself isn't actually amazing or anything, if I'm being quite honest. Like, it's literally just Dead by Daylight and Roblox, but I don't hate it or find it bad quality or anything. I've actually played it for quite a bit, and it's pretty fun, at least when you're playing with friends. If you try playing by yourself, it really reminds me of trying to play Overwatch by myself. I don't know why you would do that. Honestly, the game has a lot of effort put into it at its core. It's just the survival versus killer game with a lot of interesting characters to pick from, all of which had a lot of clear effort and love put into them, even if some of the models look a little what even is going on here? My point being is that just because you don't like the gameplay loop or Forsakens, or you don't like the characters, or you just don't like something about the game, doesn't mean the game is slop. Even if the game isn't like anything insane, I don't think it's slop. There is clearly a lot of fucking effort put into this game, unlike 90% of the other things you find on Roblox. Now, honestly, I could say the same for Item Asylum. It also has clear effort put into it, while still being a pretty goofy randomizer game that you could just play with your friends or alone. These games have devs that clearly care about the actual game rather than the money coming from it, which is an amazing thing, because people would rather just call it slop because they just find it boring or it isn't their cup of tea. Which is, I don't understand why people think this way, man. Although getting mad about how people think online is probably the worst thing ever, because sometimes I wish I could just reach through the screen and grab them myself. So yeah, that's the entire video. Small rant, I guess. Kind of like the first video I made, but yeah, it's not anything amazing. But honestly, that's what happens when you try to talk about slop for an entire video. Even though I know this video is slop, it's essentially just short, easy content to produce that gets the job done, which is what what many slop videos online end up being anyways. I mean, who could have guessed slop is slop content? God, I've said slop so many times in this video, it's like actually unreal. Either way, if you made it this far, thanks a lot for watching. Maybe go watch some of my other videos if you're that bored. If not, be well, and thanks for watching.